What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Shaw Local's Bears Insider Podcast. I am Kyle Nabors, along with our Bears beat writer here at ShawLocal.com, Sean Hammond, who, as you guys can tell with the hat on, Sean is fresh back from Halas Hall over at practice this morning, man. Sounds like it was a good day for the defense.
Kyle, I'm sweaty, I'm sunburnt. It's August, so training camp is definitely here.
Yeah, the first few days of camp, like there's all that kind of like that energy. You're excited to be back out there, and it's not that it's not fun each day, but after a few days of the heat, it takes a toll on you a little bit.
Yeah. Here we are, a week plus in, and yeah, we're starting to feel it even on the sidelines. It was a hot one out there today, but you know what? You touched on it there. Yeah, it was a tough day for the Bears offense on Wednesday. If you're listening to this later, hopefully they've gotten over that, and they're off on Thursday, but they do return to the practice field on Friday. Tough day today. It didn't look good for the offense, and it's so early. You don't want to overreact to anything at this point. They're still putting in this offense, and they're still trying to figure things out. But I mean, the defense brought the energy, man. Jaquan Brisker is loud out there. Eddie Jackson's always been a loud guy. He's loud out there on the field, and those two guys are kind of fueling this the vibes right now, because it was really interesting to watch the difference between the defensive sideline and the offensive sideline today, because you could hear crickets on the offensive side, and those guys were down in the dumps, and at one point Luke Getsy even kind of got on them, and somebody's going to have to bring the energy for those guys.
Yeah, talking about kind of guys. Maybe not getting back to the huddle as quickly after the struggles there today, and he did get on him. As you wrote at ShawLocal.com, that story is already up at ShawLocal.com from today's practice, which is a good time to get all the propers out of the way here. Appreciating everyone who's watching us live here on Facebook, whether that's Northwest Herald, Sauk Valley DeKalb Daily Chronicle, or if you're watching on YouTube, whether you're on Facebook or on YouTube, you can jump into the comments. We do take questions if you have anything for Sean. Glad to discuss anything that is on your guys' mind. If you are watching on YouTube, do us a favor, hit the thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. It helps people find the show. It helps us grow the channel. We do really appreciate that. And Sean, let's get into some stuff here, man, because we haven't talked. The last time we talked was on report day. Originally, we had promised the listeners that we would be back last Tuesday. Or I'm sorry, back on Tuesday. It's now Wednesday afternoon. I had to delay it today. If anyone follows me on Twitter saw I had an interesting 24 hours with the dog. Any longtime viewer of the show probably has heard about the dog or heard my dog in the background. So it's been weird here not having him around. But yeah, we're here now on Wednesday afternoon, Sean.
Kyle, you got to give the listeners an update here. How's he doing? Is he okay?
So the vet called at like 6:45 a.m. this morning to give us an update. He's doing well, and they describe the term they used to describe him was spicy.
Spicy.
Yes, spicy.
He's feeling spicy.
Yeah. Despite 2 days ago not being able to use his back legs, he was already 24 hours after surgery, or less than 24 hours after surgery, trying to move himself around, and they were trying to get him to stop doing that. So
all right, well, that's good news. That's good to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, tense 24 hours, but things are looking good. And I was glad, I'm glad that happened in terms of us being able to delay the show for 24 hours, because the defense having a big day kind of put things in perspective, because I wanted to talk early on here. I feel like, not undeservedly, the hype train has kind of taken off a little bit since the start of training camp. You look back to that very first practice, it was Justin Fields and DJ Moore hooking up for that touchdown. And it kind of feels like every day since you'd hear about a big play between Justin Fields and DJ Moore. You've seen a lot out of Chase Claypool so far. So, it kind of keeps things in perspective here for the defense to have a big day, but are you kind of buying into the hype with the offense?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's early. That first week they weren't out here in pads. They were running around in shorts, and You can't really hit anybody. It's hard to get a true read on what's going on. But definitely the DJ Moore to Justin Fields connection, I certainly feel that that's real. And, we didn't see that a whole lot today on Wednesday, but we've seen that pretty consistently. Even going back to OTAs, it seems like those guys are developing a chemistry, and all Justin has to do is get the ball in that guy's hands, and he can break off for a big gain. We saw that. I think it was 2 days ago. It was just like a slant route, nothing crazy, and Justin hit DJ, and he was a step ahead of Jalen Johnson, if I recall, and he took that thing 50 yards to the end zone with Eddie Jackson chasing him right on his tail towards the end there. You just got to get the ball in that guy's hands. Certainly those two. I know there's a lot more that goes into an NFL offense than two players, but you look at that connection right there, that's going to be their bread and butter in the passing game.
Yeah. I mean, the DJ Moore adds such a weapon for this offense that was just not possible last year. And, you've said multiple times over the last week when we've talked about how there have been times that there's been good coverage on DJ Moore and he's making plays. And for as solid as a player as Darnell Mooney has developed into, the Bears have lacked that over the last couple of years. That guy that you really feel like on maybe a 3rd and 7 that is going to come down with the ball.
Yeah, and there was a quick play on Saturday. They were doing a bunch of red zone stuff, and DJ Moore was matched up with Kyler Gordon, and Kyler, after the fact was a little bit hard on himself because it was a really it was over in a millisecond. Like they snapped the ball, Justin just threw it out to DJ Moore, and just in the just over the goal line in the corner of the end zone there, and they connected for a touchdown. And Kyler was hard on himself, saying, I think I can make that play. I hesitated a little bit, but I'm looking at that and I'm seeing, I don't see how he has time. Like those guys are on the same page as far as Justin and DJ, and especially he's going to be so dangerous in that short area and that intermediate area. Not even thinking about what he can be as a deep ball target for Justin, but he's so dangerous all over the field. And I hear we were talking with Tyreek Stevenson, the rookie cornerback, yesterday, and he was going on about DJ Moore's body control. And this guy, no matter where the football is, you just throw it up to him, and he makes the right adjustments, and he does it while making it easy in a way that other receivers don't.
Right. Mark Silverman, who you can, of course, hear on ESPN Radio, ESPN 1000, Monday through Friday. Also, you can find his column at shawlocal.com weekly. I saw him drop an F-bomb today, essentially what DJ Moore is effing good. And, I mean, simple, succinct.
Yeah, to the point.
But correct. It's like he is... DJ Moore was already ascending at, in Carolina. He's just at that age. He has the skill set. You're putting him in an offense that's going to feature him. I don't know if you can call it a breakout season because he's already a damn good receiver. Yeah. But I mean, I think that DJ Moore is going to be in that very top tier of wide receivers this year.
He certainly has that potential. And, we have to see how this offense comes together as a whole. Obviously, defenses are going to be keying in on him in the passing game. They're going to have a couple of guys, you're going to have double teams and whatnot when you get to the season. And that's when you're going to look for a guy like Darnell Mooney or a Chase Claypool to step up. I think Chase Claypool, is one of those guys who he seems like he's getting a little bit more comfortable with Justin as well. And certainly, he seems like
you can hear you can hear the sigh of relief inside Halas Hall with Chase Claypool getting off to a good start.
There was a 2-minute drill the other day. The days are running together, Kyle. I forget when it was, but he picked up back-to-back first downs. It wasn't anything like flashy. They just got their big body receiver to the sticks, and he cut out towards the sideline and Justin threw him the ball, and they made it look easy. Like that is, if you're moving the sticks, that's a good thing, because we know how much this offense, at times when it was bad last year, they couldn't do that.
And I think that's a good transition point there, because that I think is the biggest reason to buy into the hype from everything I've seen, everything you've reported, is the key for Justin Fields this year is to make that next step, right? Is really the timing, the understanding what NFL Open is, trusting his eyes. And from everything we've seen so far in camp, it sounds like he's made progress in that.
Yeah, it seems like he has. It's a hard thing to put your finger on, because obviously they're not hitting him, they're not actually sacking him. You go out there, there's 7-on-7 drills. That doesn't really tell you anything about how quickly or not he's getting the ball out, because there's no pass rush. But you can feel that he has a really good understanding of the offense and understanding of what they're trying to do, which is only going to make him quicker in his reads. I think he's making his reads quicker. I don't know if that means he's necessarily throwing the ball quicker. And maybe that's just me thinking about what I saw today, which was not good. But you got to put that in perspective too. It's August 2nd. They're going to have good days and bad days. The offenses, the defenses, you're one of those sides is probably going to win the day either day and every day rather. And it's not always going to be the same. And I'm curious to see how they sort of respond to a bad day, the offense. And, Justin was talking about, like, sometimes it's good to have a bad day like that, because you see what you're made of, so to speak. You see who's going to step up and say, we got to get this figured out, for the next practice. And Mooney was telling us today that Justin pulled the offense aside after practice, and that's essentially what he said. Like, that was not good. Let's get it together next time. And so, this is training camp. This is how it goes. I wouldn't be concerned unless we're sitting here talking about a long string of days where the offense looked bad.
I think the only concern so far offensively might be along the offensive line, and it's not really the performance. It's more about injury concern here a little bit, particularly after today. So Nate Davis has missed how many days now? Is it 2?
2 days. 2 days.
So Nate Davis, fresh free agent signing, has missed the last 2 days. Tevin Jenkins left practice today, walked off with a trainer. The Bears, Coach Matt Eberflus has said repeatedly that they're not going to comment on injuries. He walked off under his own power. I don't want to, make too much of it. It's just, given Tevin Jenkins' injury history in the first 2 years of his NFL career, it's not the tweet I wanted to see come across.
It's always a concern. And the pads have been on for 2 days, and you got no Nate Davis, no Tevin Jenkins. And then on the other side, DeMarcus Walker was not there today. And who else was not there today? Justin Jones was not there today at the defensive tackle spot. So, yeah, guys are going to get beat up. There was a point last year in training camp, I think they had like 12 or 15 guys on the sideline. It was like, well, who is playing? But it's a chance to sort of see what else you got. They put Alex Leatherwood in there at that left guard spot after Tevin went out. Seems like he's kind of focusing on a guard position. We'll see sort of where that goes with Alex. And then you had Lucas Patrick stepping in at right guard on the other side. We've seen Lucas, of course. We sort of know what to expect from him.
We're just over a week from that first preseason game now, and I don't know how much we're going to see starters play in that game. On the offensive side, though, we know, particularly at the skill positions, what this is going to look like, and we're not going to see a lot of the offense anyway. Preseason, they're going to hide a lot. But the one thing that I am interested in seeing is that offensive line working together, and how that unit functions. And I feel like if Nate Davis and Tevin Jenkins wouldn't be in there, I do feel like that is the unit that probably needs the most time together this preseason.
Yeah, the continuity is always a good thing. And a year ago, the Bears were trying to find any 5 that could work for that. And a year later, it's a totally different spot where you came into training camp knowing these 5. If everybody's healthy, these 5 are your starting 5. And while that's great, that's an awesome thing to have, but you also want to see those 5 practicing every day, because that's how you build that trust and that comfort level on the offensive line is playing with those same guys next to you and getting a feel for those 5 positions. And so, yeah, hopefully these aren't long-term things for either guy. Nate Davis, like you said, he's missed 2 days. We don't really have any update. The Bears don't really want to tell us anything about any of these injuries. We're being told by Matt Eberflus that if it's serious, we'll know. But at the same time, he conveniently forgot to tell us when Lucas Patrick had surgery last year. So that seemed pretty serious to me, but that's neither here nor there. Hopefully, those 2 guys are back soon.
Yeah. NFL coaches. That's all I can really say about that. Mike B checking in says Field for MVP at 20-1, been locked in for 5 months. I set the trends, baby. Yeah, I saw a tweet earlier today, Sean, going back to the hype. I saw a tweet that Justin Fields is, I believe, second now in the most bet player for MVP behind Jalen Hurts. I really, really like Justin Fields this year and expect a breakout year. And I know sports betting is based on odds, not just based on feeling, but I think that's kind of indicative of the hype around the league, and probably there's plenty of Bear fans that are willing to take that plunge, I'm sure, on Justin Fields MVP bets.
Yeah, Chicago's a big market. If you got a lot of Bears fans making that bet, that's going to help if you're running things over in Vegas. But yeah, I mean, I'm not a betting guy, but from what I know, you're getting good odds on Justin Fields for MVP. I think that's really driving that partially. Is obviously, everyone saw what he did last year. He was really impressive with his legs, and he made some nice throws at times where you could see the potential. And yeah, maybe he could have that type of Jalen Hurts type leap. I think Jalen Hurts was in a much better overall team situation where he didn't have to be Superman. Not that he wasn't good. He was obviously very talented last year and did a lot of good things. Whereas Justin Fields, it's a different situation. This is a team that won 3 football games last year. And while you feel good about the receiver spot, you feel good about the offensive line, when you got, as soon as you start having guys go down with injury, you lose your Nate Davis, your Tevin Jenkins, you start to feel not quite so good about that offensive line.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you the counter to that, and I that's a reason to temper it. I think a reason that Field for MVP is a good bet is the fact that it's a really winnable division, and if Justin Fields has a breakout year, and I'm not saying like if he put together a Hurts year, right? Like, yeah, he's going to win MVP. The Bears are going to be great, but like if he has a breakout year that's just solid, but like it's good enough where the Bears win 11 games or 12 games and win the division in a week, like that probably, helps his cause a lot. So being in the division like this, I think helps. And frankly, he's going to be facing some bad defenses in division. There's just not a lot there to scare you.
Well, and their strength of schedule is a lot easier than it was last year. The Bears had a really tough schedule last year, and you saw the results. They won 3 games. Now you're that 4th place team. You draw the other 4th place teams across the league. You're in a little bit more favorable position. There's winnable games. The division is up for grabs. And yeah, I mean, if they're winning the NFC North, or if they're in that conversation, if they're winning 10 games and Justin Fields looks really good, he's going to be in the MVP conversation. Just because we know how dynamic he is. And if they're winning that many games, it's because he's doing a lot of good things for you.
Let's pivot over to the defensive side of the ball, Sean. Gillian has a question for us here. Gillian Martin, thanks for checking in, Gillian. How has Eddie Jackson looked? I've heard a lot about Brisker, but not Jackson.
Yeah, Brisker is a little bit kind of stealing the show in terms of just like, you really do notice him out there. I mean, he's always near the football. Even just little things that I'm sure the offensive guys get annoyed with, where the play's over and he's still punching at the football,
He got it. Well, he and Velas got into it a little bit today, didn't they?
A little bit. It was minor.
Okay.
Brisker knocked him over, and they're, even though they're in pads, they're not really tackling. But Brisker knocked him over, and when Jaquan makes a good play, he's going to let everybody know about it. There was a play last week or earlier this week, where he let Justin Fields know that he had a good look at a pick. I think he broke up the pass and didn't pick it, but he was in Justin's ear even. And if he makes a good play, he's going to let people know. And Velas didn't like that. So there was a little pushing and shoving, and I give Velas credit because he was kind of on an island. He ran this route and he was off to one side away from the rest of his offensive teammates. And he was about ready to take on that whole defense by himself before anybody got there to pull him away. So I like the aggressiveness. I like the ambitiousness there from Velas. But back to the original question.
Yeah.
I mean, Eddie Jackson is still Eddie Jackson. I mean, he's healthy. He looks fast out there. He looks like the guy that we saw last year. I think, in in his role, he's playing deep a lot. We saw that last year. You got Jaquan moving around. Jaquan will be up by the line of scrimmage when necessary, and you got him all over the place. And Eddie's just sitting back there playing center field. And that hasn't resulted in interceptions or anything this first week of training camp, but I think it will. I think that's just a matter of time. And, it's going to take the offense trying to push the ball downfield a little bit more too. That'll bring more opportunities for that.
The secondary, it really has a chance to be a strength of this club. And you've looked through the first week of camp, you're hearing good things. As we've already mentioned, Jaquan Brisker, Eddie Jackson looks like his normal self. Kyler Gordon, good things out of here. Jalen Johnson, again, hearing good things. And I expect a big year out of him in a contract year, chip on his shoulder, guy that wants to be paid fair market value and frankly has earned it. So I guess the one thing that's been an interesting battle in camp so far has been Tyreek Stevenson and Terrell Smith, the two rookies. I think coming into camp, the assumption was that it was Tyreek Stevenson's job. We've seen Terrell Smith actually outshine Tyreek Stevenson a little bit here through the first week.
Yeah, you come into camp and you look at it on paper and certainly based on what we saw in OTAs as well. Tyreek Stevenson was in there. It looked like he was that starting cornerback opposite Jalen Johnson with Kyler Gordon in the slot. And then these last few days, they've been working in Terrell Smith as well. It's kind of been 50-50 between Tyreek and Terrell. And you got Tyreek, the second round draft pick, and you got Terrell, the fifth round pick. And so on paper, you're saying, yeah, you're going to put your second round pick out there. You valued that guy that highly. He should be your starting cornerback, but they're not going to let any rookie get a job easily. It's these guys are going to have to battle this out. I think that both guys have had good moments and bad so far early on. And I really do kind of think that position is up for grabs. We'll see how things develop here these next couple of days and weeks as we move forward. I think we talked to Tyreek yesterday. I think he has a really good approach to it. He essentially said that yeah, just because I'm a second round pick doesn't mean I'm going to get a job. I gotta prove myself out here. And those two guys, it's going to be fun to watch. And with those two guys battling it out, I think that's, it's not looking good for a guy like Kindle Vildor, who saw a lot of playing time last year. I think he's kind of been pushed to the backup role at this point. And yeah, Jalen's Jalen. He is, he's another guy who, he's quiet. When you see him off the field, he's a little bit of a quiet guy. He's even tempered or whatever, but he can be chirpy out there too, and he'll let you know when he's making plays. And that I like what's brewing there in the secondary with all those guys. They have some swagger and some confidence, and that's kind of feeding off on the rest of the defense. It's hard to really say with sacks and stuff when you're not hitting the quarterback. Some plays there'd probably be a sack, some plays there wouldn't, whatever. We'll see what's sort of, what this defensive line can come up with. But I think that secondary is really bringing the energy, and it's kind of bringing up the level of play for everyone on the defense.
Yeah, and the defense, let's move up to the front. We've had a couple questions already about guys up front. Let's start with the rookies, because there's been some chatter about those defensive tackles, John.
Yeah, you know what? It's a really interesting position to watch. I really like watching those two guys, Zach Pickens and Javon Dexter. I mean, Dexter is a huge guy. He's just massive out there. You can tell when he's standing next to other people, and he's not like a space either. He's tall and strong. Like, he looks like he could, grab a basketball and go dunk it on you, and he probably can. He's a guy to watch because, you just you go through a training camp here with the coaching and you find, what he does well and what skill sets you can take advantage of with him. And I think he could be a really, really good piece for them. He's maybe not going to play every snap, but he's going to be in there. And same with Zach Pickens. Those guys are going to be in there for this defensive line. And I think it's going to be, I think that's going to be the strength of this defensive line is those tackle spots. There's still so many questions on the edge that, I can't really say there's an answer to yet. We don't know what that's going to look like. DeMarcus Walker is going to be starting, assuming he's healthy. But after that, there's those snaps are up for grabs.
Yeah, I mean, at least with the initial reports, I'm feeling better about the interior of the Bears offensive line or defensive line. Sorry. I mean, Justin Jones, I feel a bit underrated. Like, I'm not trying to say like he's a stud player, but like I think they got solid production out of him last year. I think when you work those guys in with the rookies, you're looking at a pretty good rotation there. I still don't know how they're going to get a pass rush. I really don't.
Well, you know what? Maybe it's got to come from the interior. Maybe it's got to come from those guys. I mean, you hope your secondary is improved. I mean, we're talking about the swagger and the positive vibes going on back there. And you hope that translates when the season actually starts. And if it does, if those guys are locking down receivers, that's going to, the quarterback's going to have to either make a tough throw or he's going to run out of time because eventually you're going to get to him. That was the problem last year with the Bears is they couldn't get a pass rush quickly. And if a team got the ball out fast, there was really no stopping it.
So Mike Johnson is checking in, and he says, did I hear – I'm thinking he means Travis Gibson, not Gibson here. Was one of the most double-teamed edge rushers last year. How has he looked going up against Darnell Wright in camp, Sean?
Yeah, I'd have to check the numbers on that. I don't know that off the top of my head, but it wouldn't surprise me, especially post Robert Quinn trade. It wouldn't surprise me if teams were keying in on him because the Bears didn't have a lot once they got rid of Quinn. Quinn was, used to be the guy who was taking up those double teams and not so much afterwards. But yeah, I mean, Darnell Wright seems to be holding his own. I mean, he's in great shape. Did we talk about last time? I don't know if we did talk about his doing the wide receiver workouts, Kyle. I know I wrote about it, but
yeah, I don't know if we talked about it, but that had me laughing out loud when I saw that.
I love him for admitting that because I think most guys probably wouldn't admit that in their interview session, but I love that he said that. And we're like, well, were the guys giving you a hard time? And he's like, well, I didn't really tell anybody. I love that story. So he was doing the wide receiver workouts, and then he showed up to camp, and they say, no, do this conditioning workout. And he's like, the light bulb clicked, and he was like, oh, I was doing the wrong thing. So he's in great shape. The thing that all the linemen, his fellow offensive linemen say about him is that his ability to recover from maybe being out of position, after the snap, that initial moment he might be out of position or get knocked out of position, and he's able to recover really, really well for such a big dude. And obviously you don't want to be out of position in the first place, but that's the kind of stuff that they're working on. So, that's going to improve, but he's held his own against some of these defensive linemen. There hasn't been a moment where I said, Darnell Wright looked overmatched on that play. There hasn't been that moment yet. And I know it's early, the pads just came on, but he's looking like the part.
Yeah, that's one thing I feel like we do. I want to make sure we caution here is it has only been 2 days in pads, and
the first one wasn't even really like they did. Today's practice was 2 hours and 20 minutes. They went hard. Yesterday they went a little easy on them.
We are going to stick around here for a few more minutes. So if you have questions for us, throw those into the chat. If you're listening to this in the podcast version of it, which, by the way, you can get it pretty much at this point on any podcast platform. Just look for Shaw Local Bears Insider Podcast. if you want to join us live during the preseason and training camp here, our schedule is a little more flexible because the Bears schedule is more flexible. In season, we'll try and stick to a pretty consistent schedule twice a week. But if you want to know when to join us during the preseason, the best way to do that is to follow us on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter at Kyle Nabors. You can find Sean on Twitter at Sean_Hammond. And you can find all of our content from Sean and from Mark Silverman if you follow us on Twitter at Bears_Insider. Mark checking in here with D'Anthony Jones. Your thoughts, Sean?
I don't have big thoughts on D'Anthony Jones at this point. Mark, ask me next time. I'll keep an eye out for, I'll keep a closer eye on him these next couple of days.
It's hard to tell. I know with, like, as we said, only 2 days in pads, the running backs kind of get put to the side here early in camp. But Alan Dunlap is asking, does it look like it's Herbert or bust?
No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, Herbert, I think Herbert's going to be, the quote unquote starter. But he and Dante Foreman are sharing that load as the number one running back. I know people are excited about Roschon Johnson, but he is very much the third wheel in this offense right now. And actually he's missed the last couple of days with some type of injury, but he has been present, just not participating. No, those two guys, Foreman and Herbert, are both heavily involved. I do think Herbert's going to wind up being the guy who sees more snaps. That's just based on history. That's just based on sort of what I've seen the last couple of days. But it's not going to be, Foreman's going to be in there a lot. They like what he can do too. And don't forget, this is a guy who ran for 900 yards last year.
And then you add in Roschon Johnson, who coming out of Texas. He's going to be involved in this offense. It's definitely not Khalil Herbert or bust with this team. I expect it to be a pretty even timeshare.
It might be like, 60-40, 55-45.
Yeah, I think it's probably about
honestly,
that.
Or it could be 50-50. Like I really don't know. I would, I'm not out there like counting, tallying every snap every guy plays, but I would say it's with the one so far, it's been close to 50-50.
The biggest question I have, and I don't know if we're going to find this out until week 1, is who's going to be the third down back? Who's out there on a passing down?
Who's out there in a passing down? I got to think it's Herbert. I just think that Foreman has had a longer NFL career and has caught a lot. They've caught the same. I have to double check this. I think I wrote this. I think they've caught the exact same number of passes in their careers. And obviously Herbert's only been in the league for a couple of years. I have to, somebody fact check me on that, but
well, I mean, Foreman's missed a lot of time,
but yes, he's missed a lot of time, but I would think it's going to be Herbert. They love his explosive ability and the way that he can, break off for a big play at any time. I do think he can catch the football. I just think that when you had David Montgomery, he was just better at it. So why wouldn't you use David Montgomery?
Well, I think the other thing is his blocking, his pass blocking.
The blocking is a concern.
It's suspect. Khalil Herbert has to improve in his pass blocking if he wants to be on the field on third downs more consistently.
And I think that may have been like, if it wasn't the number one thing he was focused on this offseason, it was pretty darn close because, you just have to turn on the tape and everybody knows that's the thing that will take his game to the next level. If he can protect the quarterback, if he can pick up a block here and there, he has that potential to be a 3-down back.
All right, Sean, we got to get out of here. You got a story still to file. I got plenty of stuff to do, but we appreciate everyone who's joined us this afternoon. Do you have any final thoughts, though? Like, we're a week in now. Like, what's your takeaway, I guess?
My takeaway is, what is my takeaway? I mean, it's early. Don't overreact to good or bad. We got a long way. This is week 2, the start of week 2. I would say that, I'll be excited to see how this next week or 2 goes because, now guys are going to start getting tired. I'm tired and I'm not even running out there. I'm just standing out there in the hot sun. So, how are these guys going to respond to the situations the coaches have put them in, and to maybe the adversity that they're facing in practice, and who steps up and who sort of falls behind.
All right. Well, once again, thank you everyone who joined us this afternoon. Like I said, follow us on Twitter. That's the best way to find out when we're going to be live. Of course, if you do subscribe to Shaw Local's YouTube channel, which we absolutely appreciate, and you enable notifications that'll let you know when we are scheduled to go live. I try and get that up the day before, if not the morning of. But with that, we're going to take off. Make sure you go to shawlocal.com and read all of Sean's content. We'll have another column coming from Mark Silverman this weekend. It's been great reading his stuff. He's been having a good time out there at Halas Hall. So with that, for Sean Hammond, I am Kyle Nabors. Thanks again, everyone. We'll talk to you later.